Well, St Saviour's are back in the senior football ranks for 2020 and delighted to be joined on the line by Saviour's clubman and former Waterford selector Tony Corcoran. And Tony, on Monday night you were drawn with Rathcormac and Kilrossenty in Group C. What was your initial reaction to that draw?
Baptism of fire, Tomas. That's basically it. Yeah, baptism of fire. So look, I suppose you're not going to get an easy draw. The way the draw was laid out anyway, and it was done very well. I thought, but we were going to be in the third pot, so we were always going to get two of the high-ranking teams in the senior football, and unfortunately we got Rathcormac in the first game and Kilrossenty in the second game. Two traditionally good, strong football, strongholds, and we'll have our work cut out for that. But all the same, it's a great challenge for us. We would have played Rathcormac over the last couple of years in challenge games, like myself and Ger Power. We would go back a long way, the two of us. We would go back to playing days now when we were kids against each other, and we kind of always stayed friends that kind of way. And we'd always manage a challenge game with him. But this year it'll be a little bit different now, back to the competitive game.
Yeah, it is fair to say, Tony, you're up against kind of two title contenders in reigning champions Rathcormac. Kilrossenty were in a county final as well a couple of years back. Like the kind of stranglehold of the big three, Stradbally, Denier and Balnacourty, seems to be broken at this stage.
Well, you would hope so, but I wouldn't write any of the three of them off. It could be like Denier are brilliant teams. Stradbally will come back into it. Balnacourty, there's nothing between any of the teams at that stage of it. And Rathcormac came last year and broke that stronghold, as you said. But and it needed it. I think it needed it in the football in the county, just to kind of break away from the strong three teams and that. But Kilrossenty were very unlucky then a couple of years ago not to win one. Got to the final there, and unlucky not to win it after a couple of great performances in the semi-final. I remember particularly when they had a great win in the semi-final of that year. But look, it's going to be a very, very tricky time for us trying to get preparations and all that now, because you're playing the county champions, and I get no doubt that Ger Power will have the Rathcormac lads up for trying to retain that title. And with the team they have, and I know a lot of the players they have, they won't be far away again this year,
And looking at the scheduling of the games, Tony, the first match is going to be on the weekend of September 6th. The second match is going to be on midweek between September 8th and 10th. Do you think one of the downsides of the new format in both football and hurling is that clubs could be knocked out of the championship in a matter of days?
And that's unfortunately that's what it is. But in fairness to the county board, and they probably have, to get these games even played, I'd say they'd be doing well, at that format, because once they said, look, it's going to have to change, the structure is going to have to change, because there's no way we'll be able to continue with the current structure. And you're right. We're playing the first day and we're playing the second day, so we'll have 4 days between each game, which won't give us that, won't help us very much. But having said that, we still have to do our best to try and prepare for it. I mean, most clubs at the start of the year would have been, and we finished late last year after our intermediate win and that, and the Munster club, we kind of finished late. The club finished late, so we didn't start back till early mid-February. But we were training well, preparing for the April games. And with the weather that was in it at the time, Tomas, I remember we were lucky. We got one challenge game under our belt before the weather broke, and then with the coronavirus calling off everything, that kind of snowballed. Everything was gone, and we were just trying to prepare. Then waiting to see what would happen. And in fairness to the county board, to get these games played and to get the championships done will be if they do actually, because no one knows. I mean, this is unprecedented, as many people have said. This has never happened before. We just don't know what way the year is going to go. They're penciled in for that date. Will they go ahead? Nobody knows. Anything can happen in the next couple of weeks that could, scupper them plans as well. So we just have to play it and try and plan for those dates as best we can, and that's what we're trying to do. Yeah,
well, fingers crossed those games do go ahead on those dates, Tony. And like the St Saviour's Club proposed a motion on Monday night that there would be no relegation from the senior championships. Why did you decide to put that forward?
I think, well, you see, there's I suppose the main reason was It's not to try and look after ourselves. It's to be honest with it, this is totally different this year. This is not a normal year, and we're going into a situation where we don't know, along with a lot of other clubs, if you will have a full panel to avail of come championship. We don't know if lads, and we cannot be seen as a club, or we cannot be seen as even in the county, of putting pressure on players to play if for some reason they feel, no, we feel vulnerable to playing because we have someone at home that might be vulnerable to catching this COVID-19. And that's the situation. So in actual fact, we're gone up senior this year after being 3 years down, 3 years trying to get back up there, and we could be relegated after 4 days. With 2 games gone, and we just feel that it's not a fair playing field as this year, because it's not a normal championship. It's slightly different, and even ourselves. But you even look at even on the other side, on the hurling side, Ballysaggart, who have tried for many years to get up, and they have now succeeded in getting up to the senior hurling. But imagine telling those lads, you're relegated again after 4 days. You're up there for 2 games, lads, and you're gone again. It doesn't. To me, it's not fair in that sense. And as I said, I could predict now that maybe some teams might be able to field full strength teams for the championship, or even there could be a case or two where a club may not be able to field a team in a championship. And that it may not come out just yet, because people are probably still saying, yeah, we're watching to see what's happening, we're watching to see how this might progress. But you think it might get to that stage, Tony, where teams mightn't be able to field because players are concerned over COVID-19? Absolutely. So there was one listening to the president GA there one night on the Sunday game, and he said he was talking to a manager of a football team up the country who had 4 brothers playing on the team, and they told him they won't be playing this year because they have an elderly father at home who has an underlying condition. And so there's four players off the senior team, and any club could be the same. Like, you might have a couple of brothers. We have 4 or 5 sets of brothers on the team, and things like that. If there is a case of some, I think it may not show yet, but it might come close to it. I'd say teams may end up having to pull out of championships because they can't field teams, and we don't have a huge panel. We have a young panel now at this stage, but we don't have a huge panel. I'm not saying we will definitely put out a team, all right, there's no doubt about that, but there could be a case or two in the county where teams or clubs may not be able to field teams. We don't know, because it's so unprecedented that nobody knows just yet how this is going to go. Even though this is still June, we haven't even been allowed back into our own grounds yet to train. Teams are trying to do some sort of training. We're trying to do small bits here and there, small groups, and nothing major, because we said, what's the point in, you don't want to be breaking any rules or anything like that. And I suppose the whole COVID-19, the environment has to change as well now in training and all that. So all those things have to be ironed out before we actually get back into the field. And it's just a little bit different. And I feel, just to get back to the point about the putting in the motion, we just felt that, look, it's a different year. It's not the normal, and we wouldn't have any objection, and we've never had objections. If you're good enough to play senior, you're good enough to play senior. If you're not, you're not, and that's simple as that. We accepted that a couple of years ago. We weren't good enough. We were relegated. It took us 3 years to get back up there, but to be relegated after 4 days, just playing 2 games, we just felt it was a little bit unfair to a young bunch of lads. And that's why we put in the motion.
Yeah, well, I think people can understand where you're coming from on that point, Tony. And you mentioned, club training will be back underway from June 29th in groups of 10 with 2 coaches on the field. And I suppose there's a lot of work for clubs to be done in the meantime to get ready for that date. Like, there needs to be a COVID supervisor appointed, hand sanitizers, signage in place. Every player and mentor has to complete a health questionnaire before they go out in the field. Have you already started planning for all that?
We have started planning for that, yes. And there's a couple of things, like, is it feasible to have a coordinator in the field, a COVID coordinator in the field every night? We don't think so. Do we have to assign that role to a couple of different people? Maybe. But what we're trying to do, and I'm not sure if it'll be the same in most clubs, but the manager of each team, we feel, would be the person that would be responsible for making sure these things are in place before the training session. As I always say, like, I look at our senior team, I'm there before any of the lads come down. I'm there after the lads are gone home, tidying up and the usual. And the one or two of us that look after the team will be there ahead of it to make sure that everything is in place, that there's no one can come in and say, look, hey, hang on, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be doing that. Like, we won't be allowed to use dressing rooms. We won't, there's certain things we're not allowed to do, and that's down to the ruling. It's pretty comprehensive, the document that was laid out by the GAA. There's a lot of stuff in it, and it will add. I know I'm not saying cost is everything. It should have nothing to do with it, because these things should be put in place. There's no doubt about it. And we said there is going to be an additional cost to clubs to make sure that the right facilities are in place and the right precautions are taken for every training session.
Well, Tony, thanks a million for your time this evening, and hopefully we'll see you back out in the GAA pitches very soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And thanks very much, Tomas. Thank you.